Good morning, folks. Hope you're all well this morning. It's Wednesday morning. You may hear an alarm going off behind me. That's just a false alarm. It'll be sorted out now in a few minutes. It's just something that's gone off that shouldn't have gone off. So thanks for joining me this morning. Really appreciate it. It's a Wednesday morning, as I said. We're moving very fast towards Paddy's Day now, and the week that everybody wants, which is fantastic. So one of the things we'll talk about this morning is very simple. I've got a lot of emails. There's a question that a lot of people ask me when they're buying companies or when they're selling companies. Goodwill. How do you value and how do you measure goodwill? And anyone listening this morning will know that goodwill is one of those intangible things. A lot of companies put a lot of time into protecting their goodwill. In other words, their good name and their reputation. And with it comes a value. So a lot of companies work very hard to build up their goodwill. And to a lot of people, basically all goodwill is the reputation of the company or the individuals within that company. So if you take electricians, plumbers, carpenters, solicitors, accountants, all that type of stuff, you probably heard many times when you've asked someone to recommend someone to you, saying, don't use them. Oh, they're terrible. Don't use them. They're not great. Use them. They're absolutely brilliant. They're really good. They clean up after themselves, or they're a great solicitor. They do the job really, really well, or they're a great accountant. They got things done in time. That's all not just reputation. That's goodwill. There's a value on that. Now, it's very hard to value it, but there is a value on that. There's a value on people knowing in the marketplace how good you are at your job. There's a huge value in that, and how good you are at delivering on your promises. And that's what goodwill is. So when you're buying a company, you'll more likely see in the balance sheet a figure for goodwill. Or the people selling the company will say, well, the company may be valued at £1 million, but also with the goodwill added in and all that, we reckon is worth about £1.5 million. And you're thinking, how can goodwill be worth £500,000? Well, goodwill can carry a huge value if, for argument's sake, you're buying a company that does a lot of government work and it's well liked within government circles and civil service circles, and it's well liked because it always delivers on its promise. It never goes over budget, and it always is an easy company to work with. That's goodwill. So goodwill sometimes helps grease the wheels that helps companies win business, because when they go for that business, their reputation precedes them, and people are aware of who they are and where they are in the marketplace. And that's what the value of goodwill is. And that's why it's very hard to measure it. Equally, you could have companies who are terrible at managing the budget. We've seen in Ireland the new Children's Hospital. Like, there's companies based around that project who people will say they're terrible, they never come in on budget on time, they're over time, like even delivering the product, they're way behind. And that has a huge negative effect on that company, because people in the media, in government, in the public, they will be giving out about that company and how it has not delivered that project on time or within budget. Like, it's overrun by a couple of £1 billion. But sure, what's a couple of £1 billion between friends? But the problem is, when that company tries to go for business elsewhere, now it may win it, but people will look at the PR that company has got and wonder, is there any truth in that PR? And that damages that company's goodwill. And we've seen only very recently baby formula being recalled off the shelves. And this is one of the things that I teach in my crisis management workshops. How do you manage that? Because not only are you calling back in the product, and it's hitting your revenue, it's hitting your sales, but it's also massively hitting your reputation and goodwill. People who relied on that company to deliver safe baby food, baby formula, now are thinking twice about buying that brand and switching elsewhere. And they're switching elsewhere because they're not comfortable that maybe the company is now delivering the quality of product that they believe they were delivering in the first place. So that affects the goodwill of that company, because people are now thinking negatively about that brand. And they may do a fantastic job getting a PR company to get the PR message out there, to show that they're reacting very quickly, to show that they're taking necessary steps to protect their customers, to show that they're taking the product off the shelf very quickly, and they're showing that they have now improved internal systems to make sure it does not happen again. But their goodwill has been dented. They have taken a kick in the goodwill backside, and it will take them a while to build that goodwill back up again. Remember many years ago, a certain tin salmon company went through a phase where people didn't trust the tuna or the salmon within the tin because of lead and other stuff. That company for many years went through bad press and bad PR. And every time I went to buy that product, I always say, well, no, they had a problem the last time. I'm not interested in buying it. Now, goodwill does come back because people have very short memories. And I remember also a few years ago, RT Radio, the Irish radio news station, did a prime time program about a number of crashes in Ireland, and based in the Dublin area, where they were allegedly hitting children, and were showing them videos not looking after children very well. And people said to me at the time, the brand won't last. The brand will not last. That they will have to close down or rebrand. And I said from day one, they won't have to rebrand, they won't have to close down, and the reason being, people have short memories. Also, there's a lack of creche spaces for people to put their children into while they go to work. And the brand is still there, still trading very strongly, and people still put the kids there because they have no other choice. But the brand did take a kicking, and the goodwill that was built up over many years was gone because that Investigate program on RTE, it was gone. And it's taken that company probably many years to build up the goodwill again. Now, the thing is, many of the children have been left there now, their parents were young when that program was on. So they don't remember that program. So the goodwill has naturally come back. People like me remembers that program, but I have no young kids to put into that creche. Now, I do have grandchildren, and I've told them I recommended to parents not put them into that creche or that brand of creche. But the younger people now who have children, who are putting children into creche, probably have no recollection of that program, so the goodwill is built back up again. But it has taken a good few years for the goodwill to return. And when you read about goodwill, really, in front of goodwill, put turnover. If your goodwill takes a kicking and takes a bashing, your turnover takes a bashing. It really does. If your reputation takes a bashing, your turnover takes a bashing. One follows the other. And that's how the whole thing works. One follows the other. So you can't have one without the other. So it's important that you remember that goodwill is built up over time. And when it's built up over time, and when you're minded, that's why some of the very large companies have very strict procedures in place, very strict protocols in place, very strict rules in place, and how the brand is managed, how the product is managed, how the quality of the product is managed, all that type of stuff. They have very, very strict rules around all that. Because, if the rules are not followed, well, then the turnover is going to be massively affected. And when your turnover is affected, everything else follows. So the real question for you now is, in your own business, is what value does your goodwill have? What value does your goodwill carry? Is your reputation, if you're an electrician, plumber, carpenter, solicitor, accountant, how is that perceived in the marketplace? And the only way you really know that as a small business owner is how much business is referred to you by existing or previous customers. So you're always calling out the house, or people are always ringing you up to give you business, and they always say, John told me about you, or Mary told me about you. And that's happening a lot. And you get a lot of referrals. Then you know your goodwill is very, very strong. You know your goodwill is very, very strong because you're getting a lot of business that is referred to you by existing or previous customers. That's brilliant. And you know it's working for you. But that takes a while. That takes a while. So when you're buying a company or when you're selling a company, you have to be careful on what you value your goodwill. But also you have to be careful that when you're buying a company, the value they put on the goodwill, you need to do a bit of investigation. Is that true? And you need to ask them, what are they basing that goodwill value on? Is it winning new business? Is it retaining new business? Is it a reputation in the marketplace? Is it where they stand compared to their competitors in the marketplace? What are they basing that figure on? And you need to analyze that, and you need to dissect it, and you need to go through the whole thing and see, are they right? Because if you're paying for something that's intangible, you cannot go back crying later on that you overpaid for the goodwill value. Because at the end of the day, it's very hard when you buy a new company. The goodwill is like taking a new car off the car lot. As soon as you buy a company, that goodwill will take a bashing. Because people will say now, there's a new management team in place, there's a new managing director in place, there's a new owner in place. So they will have certain perceptions on how things may change. And the minute you do something wrong, or the minute a product is delivered late, or a service is delivered late, they will blame the new management team, they will blame the new owners, and that in turn will affect the goodwill value. So just remember, when you pay and you buy a company and there's a value in the goodwill, it's going to take a knock as soon as you take the keys of the building like a brand new car. It just will. One follows the other. One completely follows the other. So thanks for joining me this morning, folks. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, if you want any of our YouTube videos or our YouTube training, they're all up there on our YouTube channel at Mind's Eye Education. And if you want information on our crisis management workshop, which we do for management teams, we do for senior management teams, we put them through the paces of a major crisis happening to their organization and seeing, can they handle that crisis? Who in the management team is actually the strongest? Who in the management team may actually be the weakest? What extra training does that management team need? Or is there missing a certain type of person that brings a certain type of experience to that management team to make sure that if that crisis happens, they're ready for it and that the value of the company and the sales and everything keeps going in the right direction. So if you want to have a cup of coffee with me, or you want to meet up with me, remember, it's only €4 to have a cup of coffee. If you want to talk about your business, you want to talk about maybe how your business is doing or not doing, then reach out to me, markbeggs@gmail.com, markbeggs@gmail.com, and we'll have that cup of coffee. If you're listening to me from the States, or Finland, or the Netherlands, or Germany, or England, well, then we can have a virtual coffee, and we can have a chat. Thanks for joining me this morning, folks. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on our YouTube, Instagram sites. Appreciate you joining me this morning. Hope you have a great day. It's, as I said, it's Wednesday. We're well on the way now, heading towards St. Paddy's Day. And the weather's fantastic. It's looking great. So hopefully on the day it will be brilliant. So I'll see you all back again tomorrow morning, Thursday. Same time, 7:30, same place. Have a great day.